Hello everybody and welcome to the third round of the Player One SimGear Super Formula Lights Championship here from Road America. We have very much taken on our American leg to the season now. In the next 3 weeks, or last week rather, we were at Road Atlanta. This week we're at Road America. Next week we're in Detroit. It is a three-legged American part to this third season in 2025. Of course, a big thanks to all the other sponsors who support this series alongside Player One SimGear, including Everything Simulated, Capstone Marketing and Print Racer as well. Great to have them along for Season 3, which is turning into a fantastic season. It's myself, Ewan O'Leary, and Jim Cunningham alongside me for the third round of the championship. We're just in qualifying at the moment, and we'll get to the times that are coming in just a couple of minutes. But Jim, we are back again for this series. 45-minute feature racing returns again, but since you were last here and since we were here last season, indeed, in this championship, we've gone from a one-stop race in the 45 minutes to a two-stop race. And indeed, the possibility as well, this week anyway, of weather a little bit later in the race.
Yeah, that sounded interesting when I read that in the broadcast notes. And speaking of an American leg, apparently he brought my American leg in as well. So I apologize to everybody for my voice. I don't normally sound like Kermit the Frog, but I picked up this little bug on vacation and I get to carry it around for a little while. So, yeah, man, the two-stop thing is interesting. You and I were just talking about it before we went live. There's certainly a lot of variables there. You can, the options you have to pit it out. So it definitely brings a little more strategy in maybe. We'll see. Be my first time doing it, so I'll see how it shakes out. But it seems like an interesting twist to throw in there, since guys had figured out the other strategy, last season.
Yeah, that is it's true. It's something a little bit different. I mean, to be fair, I did see it on Thursday last week in the F4 series, which the Formula Drivers League also take on a Thursday, although it's not broadcasted on JPB. I saw it in that championship, and it does add something to the race in terms of two stops. I think that race is going to be almost incomparable though, because there's rain today, and there wasn't rain in that race. Number 19 has got a pit lane start. That looks like Jake Robillard is, and so he will not bother qualifying anymore. I wouldn't imagine. He's only 29th anyway, but he will have to start from the back. In the current qualifying standings, Ethan Morris is leading the way with a 157.5. He's just in front of Scott Bartina, reigning champion, who's had a disastrous start to this season. And he's all the way down in 33rd after 3 races. And then Jay Dixon, who is up there in the silver class. He's actually the silver class leader by 31 points. So actually quite a decent margin. And he's really flying in this session. Up in 3rd as a silver class driver is very, very strong indeed. And just before actually I get to the rest of the times in qualifying that are coming through, I will just chat about the championship standings briefly, because after 3 races, it is very, very close indeed. Mark Hilly is leading the way by just 5 points ahead of Dom Donahue, despite Mark Hilly being sent into the wall, by the way, during last week's racing at Road Atlanta. Nobody really has had a good 3 races in a row. Tom Donahue got his first podium last week, and so he's now second in the championship ahead of Dylan DeBono. And Harrison Dusker, who won the first 2 races of the season back-to-back, and then scored basically nothing for that third race of the season and the second race last week. So he dropped to 4th ahead of Craig Edwards and Phil Vella. So that is 6 drivers covered by just 23 points going into this next round of the championship. That is very, very encouraging indeed, I think, Jim, for the rest of this season. Very, very close, as it always seems to be in the Player One SimGear Super Formula Lights Championship. Last season we had a great championship finale. It looks like we're setting up for another one this week as well.
Yeah, I have to say, I finished up a series today, and it was close battles and all over the place. And there's nothing worse than getting a points battle that's just an absolute runaway. It just doesn't build a lot of excitement for the race finale. I like something that comes down to the last race of the season, and that's kind of what we do this for. So when they build up like that, I love it myself.
Yeah, it is great to see. Well, in the current qualifying session, we're just about 30 seconds away from its its end. And Joshua Horton has taken the best lap just while we were looking at the standings. Jay Dixon has improved again, and he's up to second. Danny Davison now third, ahead of Ethan Morris, who was on the pole earlier and did actually improve with his most recent lap time. But he has not jumped up any positions with that. He's still in fourth place. So it's a late lap from Horton, it looks like. But are there going to be any twists here? Horton is the furthest forward of those in the top five, and Bartine and Morris are both off the circuit. So they will end the session where they are. There's Jay Dixon stopped. And there's Mark Healy. And this is the problem as well with this field a little bit. We've got 37 drivers out there, and traffic, as you can see, is very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, that's always the negative against session qualifying versus open just single car qualifying. Personally, I like both in different ways. Traffic is a pain in this kind of session, but that's a fact of life and real life in Formula One, and so I think it's a neat system, but also the being able to get a clean lap in and see how fast a guy really is, and not having the ability to catch a tow from somebody has its benefits as well. So I could go either way on that myself.
And of course, the tow is going to be a huge factor around here as well. It's a long front straight here, and then a long back straight as well down to turn 5, which in these cars is going to be really something as Danny Davison jumps to the top. I wasn't expecting that. I was talking about something else because I thought pole was done, but it certainly wasn't. Danny Davison goes to the top. Now Phil Vella, a couple of late lap times. Vella's really come out of nowhere there. Tom Donahue comes up to 8th place at the very end here, although he's immediately replaced by Jackson Rihanna, who just goes over the line as well. Thomas Hinz and Giuliano Sinese are going to be the last drivers to come over the line here in a moment from 12th and 13th. And Harrison Dusky is as well, although Sinese comes into the pit lane. That's the end of him. What about Thomas Hinz in 12th position? We'll just see what his lap time is. That says Harrison Dusky's on an out lap, so maybe he won't set a time that's any better. Hinz goes over the line. He does improve to get up to 11th place, but Phil Vella ends the session on pole. He was was not really anywhere near before that lap time, but he's taken it by nearly 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, that was a great lap. He must have had a little tow from somebody there to jump up like that.
You would have expected so, yeah. But yeah, that was a big improvement, a very big improvement. And by the way, I don't think these lap times are going to count from the likes of Ethan Morris and so on. No further action for car 808, which is Daniel Byrne, who was not sure what he's done, but he's no further action. Doesn't have to start from pit lane like Jake Robillard does, like we're going to see in a couple of moments' time. But yeah, that's a late surprise from Phil Vella, very late surprise. And there's car 225 as well, getting no further action. That is Nick Bottrell in 26th place. But as that now session completes, the race will now begin. 45 minutes as always. So let's have a look at the starting grid, and it will be Phil Vella who starts on the pole ahead of Danny Davison. Joshua Horton displaced from that pole position pretty late on, with Jay Dixon then on pole in the silver class, up in 4th place. Ethan Morris and Scott Bartiner next, ahead of Harrison Dusky and Jackson Rihanna. It's Tom Donahue and Mark Healy rounding out the top 10, with Thomas Hinz and Craig Edwards on row 6. 13th is Giuliano Sinese ahead of Angus Milne. Brody McConkey is in 15th ahead of Alex Stevens on row 8. It's Daniel Byrne and Aidan Coote on row 9, ahead of Dylan DeBono and Will Ryan to round out the top 20. Tristan McLaren is only 3rd in silver, but down in 21st ahead of Todd Parks, with Chris Rodling and Dave Roberts on row 12. Then it is Douglas Gowns and Nick Bottrell on row 13, ahead of Charles Bray and Daniel Ackland, a rare gold row down in 14th. Matt Tresorio and Darren Fahey round out the top 30, ahead of Jake Robillard and Damian Kearns. Jason Madden and Nathan Vernier on row 17, ahead of Bruce Keeley and Sam Katakazinos, with Stuart Thompson rounding out the field in 37th. All the others are pace car drivers and race control. We've got about a minute and a half in this extended gridding period here, but soon enough, this 45-minute race is going to be underway, with 2 pit stops and rain as well likely to play a role. This is going to be very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, well, you know, you don't often see that many open wheel cars that have rain sessions. And so, yeah, it's going to throw an interesting curve in there. And of course, these cars have got a fair decent amount of power and no traction control. So it's going to definitely require some, some throttle control to be able to handle these cars in the rain.
Yeah, well, based on the graph that we've seen so far, it's likely to come at some point during the second pit stop. So, to be honest, I would be sort of against pitting on lap one in stop number one, because that really limits you later on in the day as far as how you can extend your stint if you need to. I think it'd be a much better idea to try and extend that first stint then. It gives you a real wide pit window there for stop two then. So you can choose when to come in and effectively coincide that second pit stop with your tyre change as well onto the wet tyres, which I'm presuming is going to be a factor at some point here today with that rain forecast. So that's what I would be doing. But if you get damage on lap number one, you've got to pretty much come in on lap number one as well. And that really limits you later on in the day, but you're not really given any choice as far as that is concerned. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens as Darren Farley and Jake Robillard, the last drivers to get onto the grid. Of course, Robillard won't. He will start from the end of pit lane. And so we will now be ready to get underway after our gridding process. The lights will come up on the top of your screen in a couple of moments' time. And we will be racing here from Road America. And here we go. There's Robillard in the background actually getting onto pit lane. He'll start in a couple of moments. But the lights come on here from Road America. And we are ready to go. Vela versus Davidson on the front row, as it has been on so many occasions before. They do battle for the lead again, this time here at Road America. And it's Davidson with a decent start. He pulls alongside Ish, but he's not that far alongside. Phil Vela will keep the lead and steaming through the middle there. That was a good overtake from Ethan Morris to regain some of the places that he lost on the run down in towards turn number one. At least for the leaders, it's a clean start all round through turn number one, and that is good to see on this rather narrow racetrack. Now they get out of turn three, and now they come down towards turn five. Vela's going to be under pressure from Davidson, and a whole load of other drivers going to be applying the pressure as well. There goes Davidson. He goes to the inside, and the slipstream allows him to get through even before turn five braking zone. As they come down the hill here, are they all going to get through cleanly through this turn five section? It looks like it at the front of the field. Yes, they do. And all through the field, in fact, they get through cleanly. A very nice start from everybody involved.
Yeah, everybody did a good job there. And what a fantastic job Davidson did there. He slid right up, like you said, and even passed him before he got to the braking zone there. That was a really clean pass.
That's just slipstream straight on through. On the way down towards turn five. I've got to say, when I said it's been a clean start, immediately there was a big slide from somebody in the background, and it looks like there has been a bit of trouble down at the back. Thomas Hinds, I think, was one of the first involved, but now we've also got another four drivers off the road down, I think, at turn 8. Meantime, Vela looks to try and win that race lead back again on Danny Davison, and he does down into Canada Corner. This is what I was talking about earlier on, that Road America is a real slipstreaming circuit, and there's another one of the sections where you can really see how important the slipstream is.
Yeah, especially in these cars, those big wings kick up a nice pocket of air that you can tuck into and get sucked along.
And they're all into pit lane. Well,
wow, okay.
The top three all into pit lane here. I wonder whether we've had safety car called here, have we? Because... well, that doesn't look like it for the moment. The leaders seem to be carrying on, but Bella and Davidson are into pit lane anyway. Now, it does look like we've got safety car. Yeah, we have got safety car. Harrison Duskett is... he's passed the pace car, actually, which has stopped on the racetrack. So this is going to be a difficult one to sort out as Jimmy Peacock enters the circuit. And he'll be getting on with it in a couple of moments' time. Might have to wait for these guys to come round again. But we've got pit stops from a lot of the guys down the back end of the field. Phil Vela has come into the pit lane. First of all, Davidson's followed him in. So has Jackson Rihanna, Joshua Horton, Mark Hilly, Tristan McLaren, Craig Edwards, Giuliano Cernese, Daniel Ackland. They're all into pit lane. Now, it is likely that with a safety car, you can save enough fuel to make this a one-stop race. But if that one stop is going to be taken on through the middle of the race when it's not raining yet, and you're going to have to put wet tyres on later, there's not much point in fuel saving for that one stop.
No, I agree. And, it was, I agreed 100% with your analysis of when to pit. But these guys obviously had a different strategy in mind, but also the fact that they pitted under what now has turned into a safety car situation, they're not going to lose near as much time, and they're going to be able to catch back up to the back of the field. So yeah, I won't say it's exactly a free pit stop, but it's certainly a less costly one. So maybe that was the right strategy, and they took advantage of realizing that a safety car was going to come out. I wanted to go back and take a look.
Yeah,
if we maybe we can figure out what happened here. This was.
oh, hello. It's already happened here. Somewhat.
Oh, sure has, hasn't it? Okay, let's go back even further than that.
Yeah, as I say, I saw a big slide coming out of turn 6 for somebody.
Well, it's all right.
Now there's the aftermath of it. 3 cars take each other off. I think Thomas Hinds was one of those involved in the car 52.
So there's the initial right there.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, somebody, and then so Senezi is very unlucky to get involved in the second one, as it turns out. But there's the first one.
So yeah, we had 3 there, then jumped back to here as they were coming through as the first 3. I think they started to bottleneck up here and start braking, and the blue car trying to get out of the way. Not sure who that was, but he turned right into the other car there. Yeah, it's a big wreck actually, for considering they had kind of already spread out a little bit.
And then this is the second one here, just coming through turn 7. So yeah, I think maybe it's Dave Roberts, but he's just clipped somebody there, and they've gone straight into Senezi, who's pretty unlucky to get involved in the second one, by the way. And there might have been more down the other side of the hill, by the way. There's so many cars on top of each other, and down the other side of the hill there is a spin and another crash down at turn 8. So, dear me. There was a lot going on there on that first lap, and Dave Roberts is sat there on the side of the road just waiting for everybody to go past. He actually had to tow back to pit lane at the end of that. There's the mess.
And so they're still going off track here. Wow. Okay. Man. All right.
Yeah, so that's what brought the safety car out. Harrison just gave me
a lot of cars involved in that. A lot.
There was. Yeah, a lot of cars involved. Harrison Dusky has come in from the lead of the race. I think he's realised that it was the correct decision to pit, just like most of the others did. But we've still got 15 drivers who haven't. All of the top, 13 have all stayed out, as well as Mac Tesorio and Jake Robillard, who are just in behind Phil Vella, who has already made a stop. But yeah, all the others deciding to stay out, and Harrison Dusky is deciding, well, that pit stop probably was the better idea, actually, so I better make it second time round. Hasn't cost him too much, actually. He's only down in 18th now, which is only just behind Davidson. In fact, he's probably gained a bit of time out of all that. But very interesting that we've got split strategy now, and these guys at the front are hoping to make this one-stop work, but to make it work, they've got to have the rainfall at the right time.
Yeah, well, I'm looking here at the graph that was provided for us. By the way, we do a lot of commentary for a lot of leagues, and I want to say that the shout out to Tom and the crew here. These are absolutely the best pit notes that you get anywhere in any league. So looking at their strategy, stop 2 is going to have to come pretty early, considering where that rain is suspected to fall. So if it doesn't come early, those guys are going to be in a bit of trouble.
Yeah, exactly, and that could be a real problem here for the likes of Jay Dixon or whatever. It looks like we're going to get another lap though of safety car, because there's a couple of drivers. Douglas Gowans hasn't quite caught up. Bruce Keeley is not quite caught up to the back end of the pack either. So they are just waiting a little bit longer. There's the track map, and indeed we've got somebody else actually a lot way further back.
Yeah, way back.
That's Dave Roberts, who is towed back to pit lane as a lap down. after repairs. But Roberts has also got to catch up to the train here. He'll be at the back end of it. But yeah, this is helping these guys who are staying out, I would say. Not only is it helping them save fuel, but look at the time it's taking out the race.
Yes.
8 minutes gone already, and there's going to be another 4 minutes until we go green again. So, we're going to be at least a quarter of the way through this race without really having done any green flag racing before this safety car comes in, because this track's so long.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, that's kind of the issue with safety cars and in road racing, especially like Spa is one of them circuits, that it just takes forever to get around. It's like a 6-minute lap under pace conditions, This one too. This is a long lap.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think he'll pick up the pace when everybody's in the train, but for now, not quite. Oh, we've got a pit stop as well for Damien Cairns, who's already been into pit lane, but has decided to come in again. Craig Edwards as well, who was one of the drivers, by the way, who is being showed to us as one of the real drivers to look at in the wet weather. A little bit later on, if indeed we get it. There was a wet practice session that Craig Edwards topped by 2 tenths, which is a pretty big margin. He dominated the field at Interlagos last season, don't forget, by winning by over 20 seconds, and he is a multiple-time race winner of this series, and there aren't many of those. So yes, it's likely to be him, but not if he starts all the way down the back end of the field. That does make it a lot more difficult if you're fighting your way through the field. That race at Interlagos, he very much started from the front and won from the front by a long way, yes, but it's a lot easier starting from the front than it is coming through the field.
I noticed the pace car was having some connection issues there and blinking. Wonder if iRacing would pit the pit the pace car to that new connection issue thing. That'd be kind of funny. I think what happened there is I think that they were coming in and topping their tanks off just to get that last little bit of fuel to carry them a little further in to that second stop. Again, trying to build up the ability to get to the rain for the tires, because I still think that the point you made before the race is an extremely valid point. If you've got a pit before the rain starts and you're trying to do a one stopper now, from this point on, you're going to have to come back and get tires. So to me, I think the scenario here is you go long, and when you come in to get your wet tires, you can fill the car up as much as you need because you're going to have plenty of time because of the tire change.
Yeah, I think, as this safety car goes on, I'm starting to change my opinion a little bit that the guys who have stayed out have actually maybe played the better strategy here.
Yes.
The guys who are pitted are in the bottom half of the field almost exclusively here. Some of them really a long way down. I mean, the likes of Craig Edwards, so much work to do. Our timing, actually saying that he's on wet tyres at the moment. I'm not sure how much to believe that, if I'm honest. Hopefully that's not true, because he'd be losing a lot of time if it is on this restart. But yes, there's so many drivers who are a long way down as now the pace car pulls away from the field. We're going to get a restart in a moment, but they're embedded in the second half of the field. We've had 3 laps of safety car here, which in my opinion is going to add this first stop until maybe lap 11. Don't forget, you use about maybe lap 10. Sorry. You use about half of the race fuel on a pace car lap. You use about half of what you normally do. So you can extend by probably a lap and a half, a little bit more saving, and get to lap 10. Lap 10 in this race is 6 laps away, 2 minutes a lap. That will get you to halfway in this race. You might be able to make a one stop and get to but it just depends when that rain falls. And at the moment, we just don't know.
Well, if there was no chance of rain, it would be a different strategy completely, But factoring the rain in, that kind of just throws a monkey wrench in everybody's plan. I still like the don't pit now, because you're going to have to spend the time in pit road later to put the tires on if the rain does indeed come. And, so you can get all the fuel you need while you're putting tires on.
Yeah, that much is true. We have been told, by the way, that it's a 30-second time loss to change tyres at this circuit, a tyre change stop. So that very much, says that, it's maybe less about the fuel, but but more about the tyre change itself when we get to it in a couple of moments. As Jay Dixon now makes his way through the final couple of corners and towards that final turn where we will get back underway again in the Player One SimGear Super Formula Lights Championship for round 3 here from Road America. A good evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are in the world, watching along here on the JP YouTube channel. Very good to have you along for this another round of this great championship as we now pull towards the start-finish line again. Jay Dixon, the silver class driver, in charge of the restart, and he waits just up until the rise in the road before getting us underway again. And immediately, side by side in the background, Donoghue versus Milne going side by side for fourth. Oh, and 3 wide, including 2 teammates there in the background. That's a squeeze. Through on the inside, Daniel Byrne goes through just in front of Milne and Donoghue as Dixon's off. Off into turn 1. The silver class leader, the overall leader, Jay Dixon goes off the road. It looked like an unforced error from the race leader.
Yeah, and it looks like he just kind of sent it wide. We'll stick with it here. We'll go back and look at it in a minute. I want to see if anything else is going to happen.
It's going to be a very, very busy turn 5, that is for sure, into this braking zone. Downhill, of course, and there it is. Aidan Coote goes past Stevens. And Stevens now the silver class leader, of course, as they all filter through. Looks like they have all just about made it. Vella's made up some places, though. He's up to 10th position. It's a pretty similar situation to what we had at Road Atlanta last week, where there was a safety car and there was a number of guys coming through the field and making passes because they'd already stopped, making passes on those who hadn't stopped already. And in the end, it was about making your way through as quickly as possible with that. But Morris has made off to a good start here. Ethan Morris up 4 positions so far after qualifying in 5th and is running away by nearly a second here as we approach the 1/3 mark already of this race.
Yeah, well, that safety car sure ate up a lot of time, and it definitely is kind of flipped the strategy. If rain doesn't come, it's going to be really interesting how the strategy works out.
Yeah, the likelihood of rain not coming is very low, but it's still there's always a chance. So
I actually never looked at the percentage. What was the percentage? Was it really high? I just knew there was
like 99.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of high.
The chance of there being no rain is very, very small, I think. But the miracles can happen time to time. Byrne and Donoghue and De Bono again very close on the way down towards turn 1. Are they going to just put their battles aside for a moment? Yes, they do, and that's probably the sensible thing to do at this stage. Vella gets past Ryan, actually. Will Ryan for 9th place, so Vella still the best placed of those who stopped, and actually the next best placed is Jake Robillard in 14th. I'm not sure that can be right. No, it's not right. Sorry. It's Harrison Dusky who's in 14th place. Just got past Robillard down into turn 3. Robillard, of course, showing has made a pit stop, but it wasn't really a stop. He just started from pit lane, which is not the same. Down in towards turn 5, De Bono gets past Donoghue. Morris has got a lead of over a second, so he's broken the slipstream. As in the background, Dixon gets past Madden, who hasn't stopped yet either. There's a whole number of drivers having to get past those who haven't stopped yet, and Vella's still the best of them, working his way through. There he is in 10th place.
Yeah, he was, I think, 13th or 14th at the restart, so he being the top guy who had pitted. So he's moving up, and again, at this point, though, where he's at, he's probably going to want to save a little fuel just to stretch in case that rain is slow in coming. Yeah.
There's no harm in it for sure. Just making sure you can go a bit deeper in case it does get delayed a bit. De Bono and Donoghue again side by side into 4th place as Dusker gets a 5-second time penalty for a safety car procedure infringement in car 33. So that's not good news for him, and he's actually lost a couple of places as well in the last couple of moments, although not as badly as Horton and Robillard, who seem to have been off the road down at Canada Corner and off. Byrne and Coote into the fence down at the final corner.
One of them got big time, caught a lot of air. That car had to take a lot of damage. Yeah, he's stuck on the side of the road. He's going to wait and go straight into the pits, I'm guessing. Yeah. No, there's another one that went off behind him. That's okay. Wow. Yeah, that was, I'd like to go back and see that.
There's the infringement for Harrison Duskett. When the safety car pulls away, the leader must maintain 80 Ks. All weaving must stop, and drivers must maintain single file formation. That's very much in keeping with the Australian rules of racing, which when the safety car comes in, you maintain your speed. You don't weave around like you see in Formula One or other such series. You've got to stay in line, and those are the things that Harrison Duskett has fallen afoul of by the looks of things. That's a spin for Damien Kearns further down the field. He is currently in 31st position. What happened down here into Canada corner? Jake Robillard was involved, Horton as well. And there's the contact between, oh, wow. And Harrison Duskett, we've just been talking about there, was pretty lucky to avoid that.
There were several guys who did a great job avoiding that right there. Because that was a hot mess right in front of 3 or 4 cars. And, well, look at this lead he's got, would you?
1.5 seconds now for Ethan Morris. It is ahead of Scott Bartine and Angus Milne. I wonder whether we can look back as well at what happened to Coote and Byrne into the final corner, because that was a moment just a few minutes ago. Here we go. So side by side through the first part, and Coote just runs into him, does he? Yep, kind of. Oh, and Byrne gets... So Coote runs into the one in front of him. Byrne is sort of unlucky to be involved in that as well.
It looked like maybe the guy in front of Coote slowed a little faster than he thought, and it looked like Coote may have hit him. We'd have to go on board with him. Let's see if I can do that. But what I think more than anything else was he jammed the brakes on to keep from hitting him and spun his car when he did it.
Here we go. So probably just braking a little bit earlier in front than what he was expecting, and well, there you go. Locks it all up, and Byrne goes straight into the side of him. And Coote will have known immediately that there was some seriously damage. There was some serious damage, on that car that he had to go and fix. The pit lane is actually quite busy at the moment. Giuliano Sinese is in there for minutes at the moment. But glad to say that everybody is still in the race, which is a real good thing for this one with 25 minutes to go. Despite everything that's gone on so far, 20 minutes of racing and whatever, we have not seen anybody retire from the day, which is good news. Morris still leads. Still not seeing the rain, though. And, of course, the sun was just poking through a couple of moments ago. So we'll watch out for that as Tristan McLaren and McConkey go side by side. This is Brodie McConkey, who goes through into 15th position. Those are both drivers, by the way, who have already stopped. So they can go deep into this race if they need to.
Well, McLaren's car was, he's squirreling all over the place. It looks like he got those back tires a little angry there. Well, there's a lot of side-by-side action back here.
That's Thomas Hinds on the outside of Madden, and Darren Fahey trying to follow through as well. You don't want to be on the outside, really, through that long carousel. Can Thomas Hinds stay alongside as they go through the kink here? Normally really committed, but in these cars, not really a feature. As now they're still side-by-side on the way towards Canada corner. Hinds has nowhere to go, so they're all being slowed down by this. Down into the corner. And Madden keeps the place. He defends on the inside, and Fahey goes through as well on Thomas Hinds on the inside line. Dylan De Bono's into pit lane, and this is the start now of stops for those who haven't stopped at all so far today. Only 8 laps completed. I suspect at the very most, these guys who have stayed out so far can do 2 more, but they need the rain to start falling pretty quickly now.
Yeah, this is, again, this is what we talked about. I don't know that we probably got a little bit of time till the rain comes. So go ahead, I guess, and get your stop in, because you're going to have to make one more, and you just make that one when you just, come in, get a little fuel, and then wait on the rain, I guess, for the second stop.
Yeah.
I wouldn't fill it up though, at this point. I think I would just, get enough for a few laps, and hopefully that rain comes.
Yeah, it's a good point actually, because you don't want a full car. You're waiting on the tyres in that longer stop,
right?
So there's no point carrying around a heavier fuel load when you don't need to at this part in the race. But we'll just actually check what they did take on in terms of fuel there. Dylan De Bono, 6 seconds of fuel, so that looks like a pretty full stop to me. The Ed Coote may be going along a little bit with what you said, but a couple of laps earlier he pitted, so that's probably the reason for that. It's a good point. But then again, you don't want to put so little fuel in that in the end you're short of fuel again before you have to change tyres. But again, this is not looking great now for those guys who stayed out. The guys who pitted, first of all, are coming anyway. Phil Vella's less than 6 seconds behind Morris, and that's going to be a little bit of a concern, because he's leading those who have already stopped, but also they've got way more flexibility with this fuel tank, as now Chris Swadling gets a 10-second time penalty for bumping to gain an advantage. And they're having to stop, so they couldn't go to 10 as I speculated, only 9. So Morris leads them in, and I'm afraid they are all having to come in and put more dry tyres on, and not too many laps later, it will be wet tyres here at this circuit.
I mean, there's a 1% chance it won't be wet tires.
True.
But yeah, Phil Vella's looking smart now. I mean, the fact that he did it under safety car, ultimately, and he did it fast like that, that strategy worked out really well for him. That was a brilliant, quick decision to come in and pit when he knew that safety car was going to come out.
Yeah, it was. And I wonder how it influenced the guys behind him, by the way, because he was followed in by Davison.
Oh, I think absolutely. There was a train that looked at him and said, "We're going to do what he's doing."
Yeah.
And
sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say I think you're 100% correct, though, that they were influenced. They saw him pit, and they're like, "Well, we're going to do what the leader's doing."
Yeah. Sometimes it's sort of the best idea is to try and do what the leader doesn't do, so you can try and get past. But I think on that occasion, it might have been a case of, if he's doing it, then it's probably the right idea. This is further down the field as a 5-second time penalty comes in for a pit lane breach for car 888. Now that's a penalty, that I haven't seen before in this series. Damien Kearns coming into pit lane when it was closed. He's now 35th, so that time penalty isn't going to cost him too much in reality. But even so, it's interesting to see that it's happened. Morris, Donahue, Edwards and Ryan all in the background there, by the way, all on top of each other coming down towards turn 8 as Tristan McLaren and McConkey battle away. Brody McConkey, they stay as they are in the into Canada corner. But yeah, look at those guys now who were leading before. Morris all the way down in 20th position. And took on a very long stop. He put on wet tyres, actually, according to this. So let's just have a look here if we can see the tread on those tyres for these guys. Have they decided to take the risk here and put the wets on already? Because the timing screen suggests that Morris has, and so has Edwards and Donahue at this stage in the game. That would be very, very interesting if indeed they have. But it would cost them, by the way, at least 5 seconds a lap. Those look like slick tyres to me, though.
No, I think there's a groove in them. Look at that.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can. Let me see.
Glasses.
Right. No, see it. Look at the grooves in them.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. So
my eyes are 30 years older than yours. You're supposed to be able to see that stuff.
Oh, I know that's not great news for me. Horton and Ryan, meantime, go past. It's really getting dark now, but still not raining, which is the annoying thing for them. Horton and Ryan battle away around the outside from Horton. That was a very good pass for 19th place. Both of those two, I think, are on dries, at least according to the timing. But, they're just praying for rain at this point. Every single lap, they're on the wet tyres. As I say, it costs them about 5 seconds. We'll get a better view on that next lap. But to be fair, Edwards did lose about 5 seconds, so it might have actually been more than that. So, that's 2 laps already that Morris is going to... That's at least 10 seconds over Vella. It's becoming increasingly clear that pitting under that safety car was the right call.
Yes, clearly at this point it was. My question is, though, I don't know that the wet tire strategy there was a huge, advantage. At 5 seconds a lap, it's not going to take much time to completely eradicate that, the fact that the other guys are even having to pit. I mean, 3 or 4 laps and it negates the fact that they even have to pit. So I don't know that Morris... I question that decision unless he knows that the rain's coming, soon. I mean, there is radar available, I guess, through some of these the apps and stuff. You can see that.
The second, I'm trying to work out when the second pit stop window really should normally open. Should normally open lap 14. So the guys at the front should be okay to make it, because it's going on so long now. I'm getting concerned that even they are going to have to stop again before putting on wet tyres. But that doesn't look quite like quite the case. I guess the thing you've got to do when you're on this strategy now is look at the two options that you've got available. Either make a second pit stop, one to do the fuel, and then another one later to do the wet tyres, just like the other guys are doing, or put the wet tyres on now and make this a one-stop race. And they've decided that it's a 30-second delta. I'm trying to work out what the delta is between those two, but effectively, if you think that you can have the wet tyres on a dry track for less than 6 laps, I think it is worth putting the wets on the dry track, even though it's really slow compared to your other competitors. It is actually better for your race compared to how your race would have gone if you'd have made 2 pit stops. So that's one thing to throw into the mix. However, it's getting to that stage where they might actually be out there on the wet tyres for 6 laps. They, in hindsight, would have said maybe actually we should have put the dries on and gone a bit deeper into the race for the second stint here.
So how many more laps are we going to have, though? We're only going to have, what, 7, 8 more laps?
I would say coming up to the line now, Phil Vella, that is 16 minutes to go. 8 laps, yeah, 8 laps.
So at this point, if you pit, which he is, I think you put the wets on.
Yeah.
I
definitely.
mean, at this point, it's going to take 6 laps for the 5-second each lap to wear away at you. So, I think you put them on at this point. It'd be interesting to see. I actually just turned the tire compound on. I don't usually keep that on my timing and scoring screen.
It's normally not relevant, to be honest.
No,
But,
normally no, and that's why I keep it off, just so I don't have more things to look at. But yeah, I'll be curious to see once he gets back out of pits and see if he did put wets on. I think at this point for Vella, I think you put wets on.
wow, he hasn't though. He hasn't. He's kept the dries on. The only driver I can see at the moment putting wets on is Danny Davison. I think there's a school of thinking here that says, the rain's going to come so late anyway. I might as well just do the last 2 laps on a wet track with the dries.
And the question is, how much time do you lose like that? Because if it's 6 or 7 seconds a lap, that's it. With 2 laps to go, that's the right strategy.
It's so much more interesting, isn't it, with iRacing with rain?
The fact that they've got it looming out there, it's dangling like a carrot, and you don't know how to react to it. Look at this guy. Oh my goodness!
This is down turn 5 for the 9th position. These are mostly guys who have just pitted. Tristan McLaren at the front of it has just stopped. So has Brody McConkey, who's right in the middle of this. Will Ryan is as well. There goes Milne round the outside of Davidson. Don't forget, some of these guys are on wet tyres. Again, Davidson is one of those. Fahy is not. He goes straight through. Milne is another one of those on wet tyres. So there's guys coming out the pit lane who have made 2 pit stops here, who have put another set of dries on and are now getting past some of those on the wets. Milne trying to keep Fahy behind, as you can see here in the red. He's trying to go all the way around the outside, but he doesn't trust he's going to get the room because Milne is probably on ice at the moment. Now through the kink, he is finally going to get through. Dusky and Hilly both come into pit lane. They were able to go 1 lap further. Has it really given them any advantage, though, in terms of the vision of what tyres they are able to put on here? They're still not yet stopped in their box as this very, very long pit lane has to be travelled down. Douglas Gowans carries on, by the way, at the front of the field. He might be in a good position here as Dusky comes into pit lane. So does Hilly. They both stop, and as far as I can see, they keep the dries on as well.
I'll tell you what, Villa's decision is looking pretty wise right now. He's back up to 2nd place overall, and essentially given, let's see, when was the pit stop made by? Yeah, so I mean, he's essentially the race leader right now because the other car is the leader, Goins, is going to have to pit. So I probably would not have done that, but it's looking pretty smart right now. I think the carrot, the rain little dangling carrot out there has really thrown some interesting strategy into this race.
And I can't believe it's taken so long for the rain to start falling here. The chance of precipitation at the start of the day was meant to be at 99%. With just over 15 minutes to go. We're well inside 15 minutes to go now, and we're still not seeing rain out there on the circuit. It's absolutely remarkable. Ryan and Hinz, meanwhile, go side by side for 10th position further back. Those two are on dries, and having made that right decision, they're now both bringing themselves into the top 10. Also having pitted fairly recently, not necessarily quite so much in Ryan's case, but quite a lot in Hinz's case. Ryan gets through into 10th, and Hinz does the cutback. He'll be on the inside ready for the kink at the right-hander. And he will go back through again, just up in front. McLaren and McConkie continue their battle as well. Alex Stevens is going to be the leader in the silver class, though. As you say, Douglas Gowan still had to stop. And he does now finally stop. Just less than 12 minutes to go. 6 laps to go.
Yeah, at this point, I think there's no sign that the rain's coming. At this point, I think you put the dries on and just stick it out if it comes out, if it starts raining.
Yeah. Although, if it rains right now, 5 laps in the rain does seem a bit daunting.
Yes, but at this point, 5 laps on wet tires could kill your race too, though. So if it never comes, that's 25 or 30 seconds plus your pit stop. That's pretty devastating.
Trying to work out who's been out there the longest. We saw Nathan Verney onto wet first, actually. On lap 8. Well, maybe he wasn't the first, but he's the one who stopped longest ago of those who are still on the wet tyres right now. And it's lap 15 now, so that's already 6 laps completed on the wet tyres. At least half a minute lost because of that change. That is pretty remarkable. It's continuing to get really dark and gloomy. Just over 10 minutes to go. And Horton has come into pit lane this time. So Daniel Byrne and Jake Robillard both into pit lane as well. What did Horton do? Only a 4-second stop. He needed fuel, as it turned out. I thought he was fine to the end, but he needed a bit more fuel to make it to the checkered flag. But yeah, look at this. This is
it is
super difficult for those guys. Really dark. And Bartine, by the way, his miserable season's continuing. He's the reigning champion, by the way. He's 33rd in the standings. Only 21 points to his name. When you consider there's 100 for a win, that just shows you how dire this first 3 races have been. And he's on wet tyres. He's made the wrong call in this race as well, unfortunately for him.
Well, I mean, I guess at this point he's hoping that the statistics were accurate and we're going to see some rain at some point here. I wonder what the advantage is on a wet tire versus a dry tire, because we know it's 5 seconds the other way around. I wonder what it is. Well, I guess that's going to depend a lot on skill.
Yeah, that is true as well. But skill probably does come into it, as well as a million other things. I how hard the rain is, because actually, if you as we get 9 minutes to go, 5 laps to go for Vela, and it's still not raining. It does matter a lot about rain intensity as well. Even though you might see a lot of spray off of these cars, that doesn't mean that the wet tire is actually the better tire. Especially in the light rain, the longer you can persevere with the warm, dry tires, the better. Even though it looks really wet, you've got to trust what you can feel rather than what you can see, because for the early part of the rain, often the dry tyres are way, way better than the cold, wet tyres.
Yeah, and at this point where we're at in the race, it's going to have to come a deluge. I mean, the bottom's going to have to drop out for the wet tires to be a huge advantage at this point.
That's just not going to happen, is it?
No, because we're 8 minutes away, so 4 laps at the most. Yeah,
4 laps at the line, and it's difficult to, unless, as you say, it's absolutely torrential. And look at by the way, the first guy on wets, Danny Davison. He's over half a minute behind Phil Vellert. 4 laps to go. To get to half a minute, you'd have to gain 8 seconds a lap. Now, if it is really, really heavy rain, then that is possible. But, based on what we've seen so far, this rain might not even come at all.
Right. That's the funny part to me, the way they set this up. it's hanging out there like it was, they have to watch for the rain, and it's clearly changed people's strategy. And here we are with, 6.5 minutes or so to go in the race, and we've seen no rain at all.
Yeah, it's absolutely remarkable that we've got this far. To be honest, I thought you'd forgotten there were rain when you said it might not rain later, but it turns out you were right. It's just not happening. As I said earlier, just because there is the maximum amount of chance of rain doesn't mean that it definitely is going to. And that's being proven right now. 4 laps to go, including the one that's just been started. And Phil Vella looks like he's a little bit fortunate in some ways, but he's had to make the right strategy calls as well, and he's certainly done that in this race.
I think that the snap quick decision that he made to pit under that initial safety car, because he didn't have much time to think about it, and he was the first guy, so there was nobody ahead of him telling him to do that. To me, I think that was the strategy move. I'm not going to say that wanting the race, because he was the fastest guy in qualifying too. So, but just the ability to make that quick decision under those circumstances has certainly paid benefits for him, and opened up his his session, because he pitted so early. Then guys pitted the next time around. He gained 6 or 8, 10 spots back just because the guys didn't pit fast enough the lap before. That was brilliant.
Sorry, yeah, I'm just trying to work something out at the moment, but I can't quite do it and talk at the same time. Ryan and Hinds, meantime, are battling away for 8th place. These are all guys on dry tyres as Danny Davison continues to fall through the field on those wets. He is now down to 15th in this race. And, it's getting ever worse for those on wets. In fact, Keeley just gets past Bartine. Ethan Morris is back out. He's still on the wet tyres, of course. So Tom Donahue at the back end of the field. Will Ryan's now into pit lane. That's a strange one. I don't know when. He's only made 1 stop so far, so I guess he's got to.
Yeah,
he was hoping for rain at this stage in the race. Yeah,
he was hanging on for that rain. But then again, he's also running laps on dry tires with a very light fuel load. That's a tremendous help to your lap time as well.
Alex Stevens, by the way, the silver class leader, has also not made 2 pit stops yet today. So unless he can fuel save, he is going to have to make a pit stop. He's got 2 laps to go at the end of this one, and I don't think he's going to make it. He's already done, this is lap 9. I don't think, to be honest, he's going to be able to make it, to be honest.
Yeah, that would mean, 11 laps. We haven't seen anybody go 10 yet, so I don't think he's going to be able to go 11.
Well, you say that, mate. Well, it depends how much fuel he took on in that pit stop, and presuming he did take the maximum. Maybe it's... Well, let's see. Maybe it's possible, but given how everybody else is pitting, given he's the only one to have only made 1 pit stop, although Matt Trezerer also...
No, there's actually several guys back in the field that are still on a 1-stopper. They're
on wets, so I didn't think about them.
Yeah. So, they're going slower because of the wets too. So that also helps your fuel mileage a little bit as well. But we don't know. Stevens could have been riding around tucked under somebody's wing for 5 or 6 laps too,
And they're in, and Vella and Brianna are into pit lane. The leader's into pit lane. Didn't think they would have to stop, but they do. And Stevens has to come in as well. There's 2 laps to go here. And Phil Vella's into pit lane along with Rihanna. Duskett and Hilly are carrying on. Is it a fuel thing for these guys? Have they not got enough fuel to make it to the end? I'm very surprised by this. Brody McConkie also comes through to a podium position. Thomas Hinsel gains some places. Darren Fahey will lead in the silver class now. How long's this stop for Vella? 3 3/4 seconds.
Yeah, fuel.
I don't think he was up on the jacks. So, that's a weird one. I didn't think Vella would have to come in again, but it looks like he has had to make a 3rd pit stop.
Wow. So clearly, he thought that he was going to have to pit again. He was playing the rain strategy as well, and it bit him in the end too.
Well, to be fair, the pit windows that we've been given to make sure that you can make it to the end of the race start at lap 14, end at lap 17, but where it starts at is important. 14 is not what most of these guys made it to. Phil Vella last pitted on lap 12 before that. Then for Hinds as well, but you know that would mean only 6 laps or so. That number doesn't seem quite right. Anyway, the last lap is going to start very shortly, and can Harrison Dusky make it to the end of the race? Can he fuel save enough to make it to the end here? And are we going to get away without rain? It looks like we are, with just less than 2 minutes to go. This is going to be a big surprise if indeed Dusky can make it past the pit lane. How much is he fuel saving though? Is he trying to make it to the end, or is he going to pull right off of this final corner and take a lap of fuel at the end? He's going to carry on. Dusky's going to make it to the end here as he gets the last lap.
Well, he believes he is anyway. So what's interesting is Hilly pitted at the same time, but he had a 3-second pit stop. Well, 3.5.
And don't forget as well, I'm pretty sure Dusky's got a 5-second time penalty for the for the safety car infringement. So at the moment, I think Mark Hilly's really leading this race. But on the circuit, it is Dusky who's leading. Todd Parks has had to come in at the very end of this race. Unfortunately for him, he pitched from ninth. Joshua Horton couldn't quite make it to the end. Neither could Matt Tresoreo. Oh, that's only Tresoreo's second stop of the day. So that's hardly a surprise. I think, if I've got my maths correctly, I think Dusky has got to pull over 5 seconds over Hilly, which means nearly a second in this last lap to get this win. He's not going to get it, even though he's crossing the line first, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, well, if it's a 5-second penalty he's got to basically pick up a second.
And at the moment, I'm just not sure he's managing it for this, as he comes into the to the kink now, the final sector of this track. It looks like Hilly's going to take a win here. He's already the series leader, don't forget, Mark Hilly. Came into today with just 5 points over Tom Donahue, who's in second and going to be losing big points today. But Dusky is going to get his season back on track, really, after crashing in the second race at Road Atlanta last week. Even what the final result is going to show, no matter what that final result is going to show, Dusky is back on track this season, that's for sure, as the 45 minutes elapses, 20 laps rather, and a rain-threatened race where it just never arrived. The checkered flag waves, and on the circuit, Harrison Dusky is going to win here at Road America. But Mark Hilly, 4 seconds behind, I think is going to be able to get that race win when those penalties are applied late on. He set his personal best lap time with the last lap of the race. In any case, he knew the importance of that one. And either way, whichever way it goes, I think he's still going to be the series leader, Mark Hilly, at the end of today. Further in the background, Darren Fahy in the silver class is going to win the race. 20th in the standings coming into today. This is by far and away his best result of the season to come in 5th. Especially with Jay Dixon so far down in that silver class. In fact, he retired after just 15 laps or so and finishes 34th. He will barely get any points for that. And there's Vella. He had to pit late on, make a third pit stop, which we don't see very often. He finishes 6th.
Yeah, my question is there, I guess he probably didn't put all the fuel he needed, thinking he was going to have to come back in to get those rain tires anyway. And that ended up costing him. I think that rain really messed people's thought process up a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it was described as very likely and, almost 100% chance of there being rain at some stages in that race. But, it just never arrived in the end. It just never arrived. Chance of rain, 99% was what the drivers were told at the start of the day. And in the end, it just never arrived. We have had it confirmed. Harrison Dusky does win the race on the track, but he will have a 5-second time penalty applied after the race for that safety car infringement. And so Mark Hilly will be the race winner post-race. And he will extend his championship lead as well. It'll be at least 27 points over Dusky and probably a little bit more over the rest. So it's a good start to the season for Mark Hilly, who's going to take the race win after this race is complete, of course, after the penalties are applied.
So that's going to put Dusky. He's only going to drop back to second, though. So that won't be. I mean,
Yeah.
it sucks to lose a race win, obviously, but it's not going to be the end of the world. Okay, yeah, we got results now. Here, let's get a look at these results. Well, this will not reflect the penalty, will it?
No, it won't.
No,
this will be applied post-race with the admins applying it themselves. So Harrison Dusky takes it on the circuit, but Mark Healy should take it after the race. Brodie McConkey will also finish on the podium, with Thomas Hinds just missing out this time round. Darren Fahey rounds out the top 5 as to winning the silver class, with Phil Vella then in 6th. Douglas Gowans finished in 7th place, about 4 seconds in front of Jackson Rihanna. It's Alex Stevens and Will Ryan who round out the top 10. Ryan just holding on from Tristan McLaren and Aidan Coote, who recovered quite well after his crash, actually, to 12th. Todd Parks finished just over a minute off the lead, ahead of Tom Donoghue, who had wets on for most of that race. Sam Kazinos finished 15th, ahead of Matt Trezereau, with Joshua Horton, Danny Davison next in line. Then it was a post-race penalty here for somebody. Oh, we've scrolled down quite a long way there to down the field.
How did it do that? Let me see here. Let me try it again. That's what we want.
So yeah, Morris is next.
It's acting weird. I don't know what's going on.
It's
where are we at?
Missing the part that I need as well. Because,
yes. Sorry, I'll have to back it up one at a time. I don't know why it's doing that.
So there we go. Anyway, we're going. So Craig Edwards was rounding out the top 20. Somebody's missing here from the timing because they've dropped down or something. That's why I've had to pause there. No one can just read it off the timing, but somebody's dropped down anyway. Bruce Keeley was 21st, ahead of Scott Martine, whose miserable season continues. Angus Milne is next to Dylan De Bono and Nick Bottrell, rounds out the top 25. Daniel Byrne next to Daniel Ackland. He's the one who's missing. I figured it out. Daniel Ackland finished 18th on the road, but he's got a post-race penalty. I think must be for off tracks or something, or a drive-through he didn't serve. Jake Robillard rounds out those on the lead lap, ahead of Charles Bray and Damien Kearns, who's got a penalty post-race, but that shouldn't really affect him. Nathan Verney finishes just outside the top 30, with Stuart Thompson at 32nd, and then you get to those laps down, multiple laps down, Dave Roberts, Jay Dixon, Chris Swadling, Jason Madden, Giuliano Sanese, who round out the field. Let's have a chat to Mark Healy, who is taking the win post-race from Road America here tonight. Welcome in, Mark. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on taking the win here. I'm not sure how aware you were of the situation on the road of Harrison Dusky in front of you, but because you were only 4 seconds behind and he's got a 5-second penalty, you'll take the win post-race. How was that race for you? How are you feeling at the end of that one?
A lot drier than I thought it was going to be, to be honest. No, I only remembered that Dusky got a 5-second with, I think, halfway through the second last lap, so just had to make sure I wasn't stressed at all, and it's just another lap.
Good job you didn't back off completely. You remembered you didn't back off completely, and it was only a 4-second gap at the line. And as I was just talking about before you got in here, that it extends your championship lead now, even despite having a pretty big crash at Road Atlanta. You managed to take the points lead out of it, and you've taken a win here to extend that lead as well. Just how pleased are you, or maybe even surprised are you, that you're leading the championship after this stage, and how are you aiming to try and keep it all the way to the end of the season as well?
I'm not really surprised. I have pace, so just gonna keep driving and keep winning, and that's how I'll do it.
All right. Well, it's a good strategy to carry on with the race. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, as usual, all the guys at ODBM, especially Connor Nixon, Jackson Dial, Dan Yeaman for helping me this race.
Thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us, Mark. Congratulations on the win, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Thanks very much, Mark Healy, the winner here tonight from Road America.
A man of few words, very few words.
Relatively so. But yeah, he's a championship leader and the race winner tonight as well. Let's have a chat to Dusky now, who's second place at the end. Harrison, welcome in. Good to have you with us. You must be a little bit disappointed, even though you finished in second place and in the end raced your way rather well to get up to that second place after qualifying down in 7th. It must be a little bit tinged with disappointment that you missed out on the win there with that penalty at the end. How are you feeling at the end of that one?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a dumb mistake, I guess. I didn't hear the no weaving bit, but my engineer told me, and then I continued to do it for some stupid reason. Just wasn't thinking.
These things happen when you're concentrating. You're not. You can't quite remember all the rules.
Yeah.
You know, it certainly happens because it is quite specific to this series. Actually, you know, it does mark though the start of a good season for you. I think you'll only be 27 points or so off the championship lead at the end here today, even despite having a bad one race at Road Atlanta, winning the other. You know, how would you assess how this season has gone so far in the way of your race results?
It's gone well so far. I just need to tidy up a few things, like a mistake last round in the feature race costed me, and then this penalty costed me a little bit. So just have to have no mistakes for the next rounds.
Absolutely. Obviously going to be difficult at Detroit, but that will be the aim. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Just John for helping out, my teammate Jules, and Tom for organising this whole series.
So I got to chime in here just real quick. Harrison, that was...
Yep.
I love the fact that when you said, you know, you were told not to do it and you continued to do it for some stupid reason. My God, if I could tell you the amount of times I could say that in my life about all kinds of different things. Congratulations. I just wanted to crack that joke there because I thought it was appropriate. Good job tonight, though.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Harrison. We'll see you next week.
See ya. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Harrison Dusker there in second place. Third place for Brodie McConkey here tonight from Road America. Brodie, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Oh, hello. He's left. We'll try him one more time. Maybe he doesn't want to have a chat with us. We'll try him again.
Can you blame
Brodie,
him?
welcome in. Can you hear us?
Yeah, mate. How you going?
Hello, good to hear from you. Congratulations on getting a podium here tonight at Road America. Tell us how you're feeling at the end of that one. I've got to say you weren't on our list for guys to get podiums tonight for most of that race until the very end. How about yourself? How are you feeling?
It was a little bit of a roller coaster, really. I think pace was okay by ourselves. We didn't really hook up the toe in qualifying, so our time in quali was no toe, so we were sort of in the midst of things. And then, lap one, we tangled with a spinning car. So that threw us back to P28, I think, on the restart. And really, I think just managed to carve through quite a few cars at the start of the restart really quickly, which got us into a good position. And then, obviously, with the safety car, we were all offset on strategy, and we were able to get that right. So, awesome recovery. Really happy.
I probably haven't chatted to the drivers enough about the weather, the prospect of weather anyway, here in this race. 99% chance of rain at the start of the day. Really ramped up to pretty much a certain chance of rain about halfway through that race. And it got very, very gloomy. In the end, you were one of those who held your nerve and didn't take on the wet tyres until it was raining. But there were plenty of guys who decided that, you know, the rain's only a few laps away. Let's come into the pit lane and put the wet tyres on. How did you manage that situation of knowing that there was likely going to be rain, or so we thought at the start of the day, but then it just never arrived?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely expecting it. I think it was really meant to come relatively early into the stint as well. So we were sort of tossing up whether we would need wets at the start. And then, just the further it got into the race, it's sort of, that the grip was still there. So it was, we were humming and hawing when the rain was going to come. If you were near the back towards the end, I think it was maybe worth the gamble. But I did see a couple cars cruising around on wets towards the end of the race, and just seemed to be the wrong call.
Well, congratulations on making the right calls here tonight and getting that third place. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Hey, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate the broadcast. Really awesome job. And shout out to the boys at Proline Esports.
Well, thanks for chatting to us, Brodie, and we'll hopefully see you again next week.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much. That is Brodie McConkey, who's on the podium for the first time, actually, in his Play One SimGear Super Formula Lights Championship career. Darren Fye wins in the silver class, and we can chat to him now as well. Darren, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Congratulations on a top 5 overall and a silver class win as well. How sort of surprised are you that you've been able to make up the most positions of anybody here today? 25 places from qualifying 30th, and you've won the race in silver class. How surprised maybe, or how are you feeling at the end of that one anyway?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm going to try and troll you and say, no, that's expected. But no, that was a good effort. I'm happy with that. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know many drivers going into races expecting to gain 25 places. In fairness, what was your thinking on strategy developing like throughout the day? Because as I just said to Brody, there, who finished third, the chance of rain at the start of the race was 99%. We were all expecting it; it just never arrived. So, how did your thinking evolve with that? And were you ever tempted to preempt the wet weather by putting on the wets at either of your pit stops here today?
Well, yeah, I I thought about it and got talked out of it, which was a good thing. Thanks to the team. What did I think about the day? I actually wasn't going to race tonight because I was worried about the rain and not doing any practice.
Wow, it's good job you did. In the end, you didn't need to do any wet practice for this race. It turned out.
I was fearing the rain, and I just don't. Yeah, I had my daughter, so I had to get her into bed, and just had no time to practice. And no rain was just a great thing for me.
Yeah, a scary prospect driving in the rain with no practice, that's for sure. But congratulations anyway on getting the silver class win tonight. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, there's a few. There's Team Poe, Tinky Winky, Dipsy, yeah, and all the Teletubbies that are running Tuesday nights.
We can see your liveries very easily across the piece. So thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us, Darren. As always, congratulations on the win tonight, and we'll hopefully see you next week.
I'll actually quickly say hello to my missus Leanne and my daughter Harper. Can't do it without them. Thank you.
Well remembered at the end there. before you get any trouble. Thanks, Darren. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, lads.
Thanks. That's Darren Fahey, the winner in the silver class here tonight in the Super Formula Lights League. Well, it's been good to be alongside you for this one, Jim. A race of anticipation, and the rain never arrived, which, there was a 1% chance of that happening, and we've had a 1 in 100 event here tonight.
I tell you what, I thought it was brilliant. The fact that was hanging out there really did change so many people's strategy tonight, and it. I guarantee you the fact that was looming out there changed the outcome of this race. Had there not been a chance of rain, I don't think we would have seen the same finishing order. It altered so many people's plans, and ultimately the ones that just ignored it and decided they would deal with the rain when it came was the right decision.
Yeah, a remarkable race, really. And those that waited for rain to arrive before pitting for wets, were the ones that won out. I guess maybe that is a bit of a lesson to everybody in the wet weather in iRacing. So you can survive for a little bit on the dries in the wet weather, so it's probably worth waiting out. But, when you're promised a 100% chance of rain, you normally think it's going to arrive, but not on this occasion. A remarkable race, another edition of the Player One SimGears Super Formula Lights Championship here from Road America, where Mark Healy has taken the victory. He will extend his championship lead overall as we continue on with this series. We'll be back next week from Detroit with the next round of this championship in the meantime. A big thanks, of course, to all the sponsors who make these broadcasts and indeed this series possible. The Player One SimGear title sponsors, of course, alongside Everything Simulated, alongside Capstone Marketing and Print Racer as well. We'll be back next week here on the JPB YouTube channel, same time, same place, with more sprint racing from Detroit. A 15-minute race followed by a 30-minute feature. Very much hope you can join us then. For now, I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Jim Cunningham. Until we see you in Detroit next time out, it's goodbye for now.